Hello everyone, and welcome to Light News Radio, Realms of Self-Empowerment. Now in our 5th year, bringing you topics on the mind, body, spirit, and the tools and techniques to awaken you to higher states of awareness. I am Dr. J, your host, and my amazing co-host is Deirdre Leighton. Please do share and follow. Together we bring you grounded metaphysics where the spiritual rubber hits the road, real-life teachings and applications that are pertinent and relevant to you. Here you can breathe the fresh air of real consciousness education while avoiding the hype and the fascination. We are all about assisting you to empower your life through understanding your true spiritual nature. So come aboard our beam of light and enlighten your load as we travel the waves of knowledge and wisdom for the next hour. What a topic for today, April 26th, 1902. Oh, did I say 1902? Well, that would mean that we were doing some time travel. Wow. I wonder what today's topic is. For all you telepaths in the audience, what is today's topic? Hey, Ken, and hey, Rayanne. I hope you guys have some great questions. I might be bringing one of you guys on today so we can have a lively discussion about our topic. Usually what happens on these programs is during the week before, I tune in to see what would be something that is very pertinent to the time that we're going through. Of course, last week was Easter, renewal, death and renewal, recommitment, sometimes reimbursement for all of the effort that we've expended and, to gain back. So this is a very propitious time where there's such opportunity for real growth. But at the same time, the expanding consciousness leaves us sometimes a little bit out of our comfort zone because we so much want to understand more and more and more, and yet the teachers say, everything you want to know, you already have. There is nothing to become. You only have to be. And, when you are studying so astutely the nature of consciousness and what it is, sometimes we compare ourselves to each other. Like I have a couple of colleagues in the higher education industry who are premier in their field for lecturing and leading lectures on consciousness studies and what it is to be conscious. There's so many variations on a theme, and yet where in the universe do we not exist? Are we not already in the oneness? You remember the old saying, you're not in the universe, you are the universe, experiencing yourself. So we're living in a wonderful, beautiful time where the possibility of inner growth is great. So let's do a couple of things. One, as we go through today's program and the rest of our lives, let us let go of comparing ourselves to anyone else. We are unique flower. Or as the Mayans would say, you are the precious stone, unique in the eyes of God. And no one is any closer to God than anybody else. You can put a religious spin on that, a spiritual spin on that. You can put any kind of spin on that you want. But no one is any closer. It is what you reveal that matters. Number 2, let's have a great time talking about telepathy and time travel. I have a lot of stories that I want to share with you today. So hopefully, as we archive these shows on YouTube channel, which is the Light News Radio YouTube channel, you'll be able to go back to these again and again. My amazing co-host Deirdre is, as they say in the States, out of pocket right now. So she may be joining us. She may not. I don't know. But doesn't matter. And number 3, why don't we do what we've done before in some of our earlier radio broadcasts when there was no video and we were just going on internet radio alone through audio? Why don't we do a short guided imagery meditation? And this will work just as fine if you're listening to this as an archived program or if you're listening to it live. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So if you would please, if you're seated comfortably, if you'd please close your eyes. And maybe in some way, feel that your eyes are smiling, if there was such a thing. That as you close your eyes, you actually feel them smiling at what they see. Maybe you're thinking about your beloved, or maybe you're thinking about one of your pets, which, by the way, today is a very special day, April 26th. My pet, Caesar, no relationship to the emperor, is a blue-fronted Amazon parrot. And Caesar just turned 32 years old today. I was happy to have him come into my life December 20th, 1987. So 32 years he's been with me, and he's tolerated me. So you see, still have all my fingers on each hand, still okay. But a very special day because he's so loving, gregarious, and so spontaneous with his love, as we can be. So let's go into our meditation and close your eyes. And as you breathe, imagine that you're pulling the air all the way down to your belt line, maybe even all the way down to the bottom of your chair. And you're just feeling how relaxing it is to be able to breathe. What a wonderful sensation. The air going in and out, your body relaxing. And you look up upon the canopy of your mind, and it is as though you can see your thoughts going by like puffy little clouds. They seem to come out of nowhere, and then they drift on, and they go back to nowhere. They come and they go like the wind. One knows not where to, or where from. And as you breathe into that feeling, call forth a setting. It could be a wonderful crystal beach with beautiful waves, perhaps of blue or maybe violet. They don't have to be on this planet. And maybe the sound of the waves is what lures your mind into even a greater sense of relaxation and repose. Perhaps some beautiful mountain setting where the mist that moves through the trees is just like the incense moving along the columns of some great and sacred temple. And as you breathe, feel yourself relaxing into your chosen scene, where all is well, all is right with the world. And you sense a flow, not a flow like time, but a flow like a movement where your mind seems to be just moving very slowly along like a very lazy river, moving in a certain direction, gently, effortlessly, and yet with a sense of purpose. And as you breathe into that feeling, feel yourself matching this flow. So if you're sitting on the beach or being in that beautiful forest scene or someplace else, you can just feel this movement as though it has a pulse or a rhythm, even a heartbeat. And further, feel that this heartbeat is the beat of the universe itself. Yeah, the entire universe. And that you're so beautifully in this flow that to sense it is effortless. Completely and totally effortless. And as you breathe into this feeling, get a sense of your heart space. I know sometimes it's easy to give our love to our beloveds, or to give our love to our pets, or to friends, but also love is a two-way street. Imagine yourself receiving such love. I know that we talk about love from the Creator, we love from our guides and our angels. Just think of universal love coming towards you and you absorbing it. It's like a beautiful sponge. And as you breath in, feel your being full of that love. Not that it wasn't before. It is very simply, you're just more aware of it. That's all. Just more aware of that universal love. Feel it pervasive, moving through every vibrational part of you, every cell, every molecule, every atom, on down to the smallest particle that science even knows, and beyond that to what we know is vibration itself. And feel that love further aligning you with that beautiful cosmic universal flow. And for the next few moments, just feel that flow moving through you on every level, whether it's the mind that thinks or the emotions that feel, the body and the glands and the organs, your awareness of your spiritual nature, and so on. Just breath in and breath out, breath in and breath out, breath in and breath out. And now, being ready to focus on the image on the screen or just to listen a little bit more closely, you feel yourself coming back fully into your body, but also aware of the flow moving through you, with you, for you. And breath in and breath out. And breath in deeply and gently, and breath out, feeling content, centered and grounded. And when you feel the moment is right, open your eyes. And for those of you that know this, I've been doing guided imagery meditations for 27 years now. And I realize that's really where my heart is. You know, sometimes we think what our identity is, we get a little older and we think again, and it has just come to me so strongly this year that I'm a healer. That's what I do. I have other hats that I wear, and you've heard me talk about them, but healing is what I do. And I'm so happy to be a part of your world, even if it's only for a few minutes, where we can share that love and that awareness. And not just love in an airy-fairy way, but the love that affects how well we think, how much we focus, how we value what's important in life, and how we let go and shed the distractions that we sometimes have in our life. You know, the things that are pulling us away from that flow. So I would like to remind you at this moment, there's nothing more precious than you. If you take really good care of yourself, you know, that's one of the great ways you can help people, because then you're fully empowered, you're fully awakened, you're fully present for the people that need you, whether it's your loved ones or those beloved pets like my beloved Caesar. Wish I could post a picture. I did post on Facebook earlier. But I think that it's important that, especially in these days of the rapidity of by which things are changing so quickly, that we remember who we are, that we really focus on what's important. What is in your heart is probably the most important thing. Even if sometimes you may think in this part of your being, you don't know everything that you should know. Certainly that happens to me sometimes. But just be in your heart. Like the Buddha said, just be harmless and compassionate. Just do that and you will have lived a great life. So, how are you guys doing? Do you have any comments for me or questions at this time? Because I'd like to jump into today's subject matter of telepathy and time travel. I think it's a very exciting topic. There's certainly very easy ways that we can get into the fullness of an hour on this topic. And certainly, I know that the many people that watch this program, especially, you know, if this is after the 26th and you're watching this on YouTube, that you may be thinking, oh, I wish I would have watched this program live. So you can always send me questions. Our website is www.lightnews.org, lightnews.org, lightnews.org. And the email is very simple. It's info@lightnews.org, info@lightnews.org. So give us an email, check out the website. We've got lots of things that we offer, but mostly I love to have your questions. You know, I work in San Diego and in Calgary. Those are the two places on the planet where I work the most. And I like to be physically available. In fact, I'm going to be doing more Q&A sessions here in San Diego and in Calgary. Lots of changes going on in Calgary. Our beloved co-host, Deirdre Leighton, is moving to Nanaimo, as is probably no secret. Probably half the planet knows that by now. So things are changing for her, although she's just as intimately involved in the work of Light News and Light News Institute. And of course, I will still be coming to Calgary. Things may change a little bit, but you know, we're always changing for the better. So I see that Ken and Sheila are now on. So Sheila evidently got off work soon enough. Let me ask any of you that have just logged in, do any of you want to be brought on camera? So while I ask that question, some of you are going, oh, I don't know if I want to be on camera. Maybe I'll just text my question to Dr. J. And you're more than welcome to do that. But live interaction is always a lot of fun. And I enjoy the discourse when I'm teaching a class at the Institute, the California Institute for Human Science. One of the items that I put in the syllabus is that I do grade based on discourse, you know, how much we're able to chat about the subject matter. Because I think that's how we really learn. It's not just me being a talking head, you know, giving you all this information, but for us going back and forth. So let's see, I think I saw Rayanne here. I'm going to scroll down. That's why the screen is shaking so much. There's got to be a more eloquent way of doing this, but for now, this is what we're doing. So I'm going to bring on Rayanne, who is a very powerful graduate of integrative chakra therapy. It's a 2-year program that anyone can take. She just graduated recently. Congratulations. And we start new groups in San Diego and in Calgary twice a year. So I think that, let me put my glasses on here. Forgive me for one moment for concentrating. It says, considering I'm sitting at my desk, my work, my boss wouldn't appreciate me on video with you. Yes, exactly. Well, thank you, Pamela. Although I could speak very loudly and get your boss's attention. Pamela is also an extraordinary graduate of the integrative chakra therapy, and she lives in the San Jose, Monterey area of California. For those of you that don't know where that is just south of San Francisco a little bit. So Rayanne, I have no idea where you went. Let me try again. Please excuse me one moment, folks, while we do some technical stuff here. Okay, Rayanne, you would have received an invite to come on. And if not, we'll go after Pamela and we'll get her boss. And then we'll have him time travel here. Okay, so while we're waiting for Rayanne, and if she can't come on camera, if there's anybody else that would like to, please let me know. I want to talk a little bit about telepathy first, and then move into time travel. Interesting thing about time travel, too, was that John Wheeler, famous physicist, he said, time is what keeps everything from happening at once. So what does Rayanne say? Oh, here we go. Let's just see. I don't see you, Rayanne. I'm so sorry. I don't want to take time away from the show. But let's see if that works. Isn't technology great? You know, I had my first computer in 1984. It was called an Apple IIc, not the 2E, but the hot little 2C, and it had a 5 1/4 inch floppy disk drive and no hard drive and a 9-inch green screen. 9-inch green screen, just text on a green screen. And I thought, how could anybody ever want anything more than this? And I remember buying an external 5 1/4 inch floppy drive. Oh, I was in heaven. So I was hooked since 1984. And here we are so many years later, you know, doing this on our phones. and yet still we have these technical difficulties. So I have no idea what happened to Rayanne, but sometimes this is the way it is. So let's talk about telepathy. Most people think of this word as a way of reading someone's mind. Like if I finish your sentences for you, or if I know where the paragraph is going before it ever gets there. And when I wrote my book, Eye of the Lotus, Psychology of the Chakras, and it was released in December of 2004, I had compiled a lot of personal observations and theories about the chakras. And these were from spiritual counseling, that I had been doing. And my sister Carolyn is on. Carolyn, do you want me to bring you on camera? She's probably thinking, not a chance. So Rayanne's going to try to switch devices, but hi, Carolyn. But I had compiled a lot of personal observations, my opinions from years of doing spiritual counseling, and I've been counseling people since 1987. And I don't think my sister wants to be on the show live. I think she just wants to watch. Anyway, so when I was going through the chakras and counseling so many people, I started to notice different attributes. And I noticed that in the throat chakra, this one here, that it possessed one or more psychic abilities, as the other chakras do as well. And the primary psychic ability of the throat chakra is telepathy. And so people say, well, what does that mean? What is telepathy? Because we've heard the word telepath and telepathy and telepathic viewing and remote viewing. Really, it's more about knowing what is the character of a person, a place, a thing. And let's see if we can get Rayanne now. She had to change her devices. And we'll see what happens. So anyway, telepathy is a way of knowing what a consciousness is. And intuitive abilities are not just something that is related from one person to another person. It's not just from me to you as human beings. It is any consciousness. So it could be the consciousness of a stone. It could be the consciousness of a seed. There's a very popular seed about the size of a quarter and about, maybe 1.5 centimeters thick, called a deer's eye. Deer, like the animal, a deer's eye. And we've used this down in the land of the Maya in Central America on my several trips there as a way to contact the elementals and the other beings in the other dimensions through the deer's eye doing telepathy, but the deer's eye as a telepathic window. And so the shamans do this, and so many other cultures do this, but it's not just only me to you. Telepathy is a way of connecting, or should I say, increasing one's awareness of the consciousness of people, plants, animals, crystals, rocks, the spirits of the air, the spirits of the water, the nature spirits, other beings from other planets. And believe me, I understand when I was saying this 30 years ago, people would be rolling their eyes. And even today, sometimes you speak in this way that people roll their eyes, and yet there's so much proof that telepathy and astral travel and time travel and all of that, really does exist. We're living in what my wife calls the age of truth revealed, that things like telepathy are very real. And there's studies where people have been able to absorb specific levels of information without even leaving their physical being. Like they'd be sitting in a room, and we've done this before in workshops called astral travel. And in the astral travel, when we've left our bodies and we've traveled someplace instantaneously, no matter where it is, doesn't mean if it's across the room, or it doesn't limit it to be across the room or across the planet. It could be anywhere. That you would be able to view through your astral body, but also telepathically, to be able to see something. And for me, it's both. I can travel astrally, or I can just simply go there telepathically. I was in a flower reading one time, and for those of you that don't know flower readings, I can explain perhaps at some other time, but the process is people bring flowers and they put one on the table, and then anonymously I read them. I don't know who I'm reading for. They put the flowers on the table long before I ever sit down. It's to prove that faith is real. And so anyway, I was in a flower reading, and I was picking up this one flower, and I didn't know who I was reading it for. And I said, I had a past lifetime in the Andes Mountains above the tree line where these little bushes grow that have these little pink flowers on them about the size of my thumbnail. And I'd never been to the Andes in this lifetime, but when I was holding that flower, I could easily telepathically go to the Andes and look into the time travel of that lifetime where that person had a lifetime there. And I saw these little woody bushes with these little pink flowers on them growing above the tree line. And it's a very barren place when you're that high up in the Andes Mountains. So at the end of the evening, people can reveal which flower was theirs or not. And this woman revealed that it was her flower, but there was a man in the meeting that just happened to be raised in the Andes as a child. And he said, as children, we used to play with that flower. So here I am sitting in a room full of people, and I'm holding up a flower, and I'm able to very clearly see what is the condition of the land where this person was in that lifetime, and what was that like for them. So you'll have to forgive me putting on my glasses from time to time. I'm just looking at the screen. So Sheila asked me a question. She says, well, when she's doing a reading for someone, is it telepathic? In part, because all 7 chakras are all on. No chakras are closed. Our intuitive faculties are on all the time. I would consider it to be a combination of faculties, not just telepathy, when you're reading for someone. And this is why when my students are taking their training in integrative chakra therapy, ICT, that they must breathe all the way down to the belt line as though their lungs extend down below their belt. This is a way to engage all of the chakras. The problem that a lot of people have in healing work is they're not taught to use more than just the heart chakra. And that can be a very big problem if it's done to excess. And so that's like only using one arm muscle when you really need 2. After a while, something's going to give, right? So healers will perceive things differently. And to Sheila's point, the physical mind also reacts differently to psycho-spiritual phenomena. So if you observe something telepathically, but let's say you are a very visually oriented person, you might see something because the telepathic image may present itself to your mind as a visual image, but you might also be auditory. And so your telepathic mind, if it's predisposed to be more auditory, might perceive something as a sound or a smell or a taste. And I think that, part of that is very accurate, Sheila, because I remember being in a flower reading years ago. I was holding up this flower and I smacked my lips and rolled my tongue. And I thought, oh my God, that tastes good. What is that I'm tasting? I think I was being silly, right? And it was such a wonderful taste. And so at the end of the flower reading, I asked, if people want to reveal which flower was theirs. This one person did, and she was a chef. And she had just prepared something before, and evidently whatever that was, the energy of her labors had transmitted itself through telepathically to my mind as a taste, which was actually, for any of you that do this work, there's some amazing rewards that are very difficult to explain. And so, that the old saying, like Sheila and Ken and I and others like Rayanne and Carol and Kathy, if you don't fit in, you're probably doing something right. So we are definitely on the leading edge of this work. I see. So Rayanne is having trouble because she sees the invitation, but she doesn't know how to accept it. Rayanne, just say yes. Just say yes. Because I can see I've already sent an invite to you. Okay, well, I apologize. But let's talk a little bit more about telepathy. And if you guys got questions, just type them in, send them over. And Angie says, is this the knowing we have with people? It can be. Yeah, it can be. Remember, 7 chakras is like 7 light bulbs. Think of 7 exposed light bulbs in a room. And you turn them on and you shine them all at the floor. And you say, which light comes from which bulb? You can't, because it's all merged together. And yet there's 7 light bulbs, because you can look back at the source and you can say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But when it gets to the floor, so that's a lot like what it is. The chakras exist in a higher dimension as 7 chakras, and yet we don't see them in the body. But the body is a product of those 7 chakras. So there's really no seam between the chakras, and yet there is, because each chakra is possessed of 1 or more psychic abilities. This is the joy and the challenge of teaching metaphysics, because it sounds like the teacher is just making this up as he or she goes along. But I promise you, as nearly as I can understand it, this is how my opinion of how it works. So what's going to happen with Rayanne is the program's going to be about like 3:59 p.m. with about 30 seconds left. She's going to, oh, I was supposed to push that button. I'm sorry, Rayanne. I know how badly you want to get on the program. I don't know what else to do. I keep looking at your image here where it says recently invited, and it says sent. So you have been sent. And so in the world of telepathy, one of the exercises that you can do is to let go of thinking that the throat chakra, this chakra here, is all about what you must communicate. It would be more accurate to say what you must comprehend. And comprehension comes in 3 flavors: how you comprehend others, how they comprehend you, how you comprehend yourself. Or how about, in the communicative sense of comprehension, what you say to others, you know, what you communicate with email, or you paint something, or you sing something. It's all outwards, but also how it comes to you. Because if you think about it physiologically, yeah, your ears definitely turn sound into the, from the vibrations into the electrical signals to your brain, yes, but your whole body is a sense perceptor of sound. Your whole body is receptive to sound. Just ask my dear colleague, Dr. Jeffrey Thompson, here in San Diego, who in my opinion is the world authority on psycho and neuroacoustics. A marvelous fellow, definitely worth your time to get to know him. And Ken says, so when working with animals, plants, or humans, can we use telepathy to ask what they need? Yes, precisely. Because I have noted a lot of times people who are strong in the throat chakra or a strong telepath actually get along better with their animals and their plants than they do with people, because animals and plants don't have any hidden agenda. They just are what they say they are. So it's very, very funny. And Sheila says, I used to think that to be telepathic or to have the gift of seeing, that it was all in your third eye. Well, yes, that's partly true, and that it has to do with all of them, especially the throat chakra. But again, just think that all of your chakras are active 24/7, and that there's no seam between the chakras. But chakras are awakened in different ways. Some chakras are oh no, got that double echo.
Yeah, it's me.
And
I bring about
I have to be silent.
And I bring about a double echo.
So when you're done, mute your phone.
All right.
So introduce yourself. Introduce yourself.
Well, I was muted, but now I have my volume lower. I'm Deirdre. And I'm talking to you live from Nanaimo, British Columbia, where I have my time and dates and weeks and months totally backwards and messed up. And I'm excited. Like you were talking about some pretty cool stuff. And you know, the questions that people are asking are amazing, because telepathy, we all have this, and you're born with it. And even, you know, with time travel and everything else that you're talking about as well, you know, well, you and I've experienced that going to Medicine Hat once.
Oh, lost.
Totally, you know. So it's pretty cool. So I will be in the background and watch the rest of your show. So
also, I think if you turn speaker or put on headphones.
We have lost my headphones. We don't know if I left them on a ferry or in a restaurant or
on a ferry.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've lost them somewhere. I've been looking for them for a couple of days now. Can't find them. So maybe they're back in. I don't know. Too much on my plate. That's right. So, all right. Great show so far. And hi to everyone. Great to see you. And hopefully, you know, my life will be normal soon.
Yeah, that'll happen.
All right. I'm going to mute.
Thank you. Okay, so her microphone. And I think it's related to not your microphone. Otherwise, then you can't.
Well, this is crazy because you're still breaking up, so maybe it's me.
I think you have speakers off.
I think it might be the internet too. Okay. Well, I'm sorry, guys. And thanks, Sheila. See you soon. Love, hugs, guys. Okay. We'll get it. We will. Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
That's the amazing Deirdre Leighton. She is an exceptional healer, not just a graduate of integrative chakra therapy, but a qualified instructor of the same. She is actually going to be in Calgary next week doing flower readings and teaching level 3 to our newest group, which you can join whether you live in San Diego or in Calgary. And we start new groups every year. Again, www.lightnews.org. So, telepathy. I want to talk a little bit more about telepathy. Let's see what time it is here. Time doesn't exist. Okay, so we've got about 22 minutes here, and I want to use the time wisely. If you have any questions, please do type them in so that I can address them. Ken and Sheila, your questions are fabulous. I do want to repeat one thing, is that because some people have a very strong telepathic aspect, is that they really can communicate better with animals than they can with people, or sometimes better with plants. I've seen very strongly telepathic people have become veterinarians, or have lots of pets, or become botanists, or own flower shops, and so forth. And the other part is, and Sheila's question is, remember, all of your intuitive abilities are active at all times. It's not just one, it's not just telepathy, but they're all active at all times. So the place where people get into trouble is if they take some kind of healer's training, energy medicine, energy psychology, and if they do, then they tend to use only heart chakra. And this is a common problem, and it's something that's very, very big problem. And I've noticed massage therapists do this. You know, I have a student who is a massage therapist, and they said there's no training at all in clearing your energy field or clearing the table. And this causes me a lot of concern. So one of the things I'm doing now is I'm reaching out to the yoga studios all over the world to teach them more and more about chakras, the human biofield, why it's important to clear your energies, what happens if you take something on. Because I see a lot of people very diligently studying the asanas, but not as much a more modern interpretation of the yoga theory of how the chakras work. A lot of it is very, very much in ancient history, which is beautiful. Don't get me wrong. This is wonderful. But one of our wonderful people listening, Lynn, says she owned a flower shop for years, and I don't doubt that she was able to communicate with flowers. And there's people that will say, they're animal. Yesterday from one of my wife's colleagues who is an animal whisperer, and so if you know somebody that needs that, I have a referral for you. Let's see. Ken says, when we teach Reiki, we tell them what you have told us about using all the chakras. Thank you for that. Yeah, that's vital. That's vital. So let me jump into time travel a little bit. Okay, I'll jump back. Just did for 20 minutes. Did you enjoy it? And Deirdre was talking about that one time we were on the way to Medicine Hat, which is about 180 miles east of Calgary, for those of you that may not know that. And for some reason, we were there in 2 hours instead of 3 hours. And this has happened to me more times than I'd like to admit, where a similar occurrence is, you're driving down the highway and you blink your eyes and you're 2 clicks further than you thought you were. And some of that is just simply not being mindful, but some of that is a form of moving through time and warping time itself. The governments of the world have been experimenting with this probably close to 100 years now, with magnetic field induction and variability of electromagnetic forces to warp the fabric of space and time using toroidal field technology and all of this other stuff. A long story short, a dear friend of mine was engaged in the Philadelphia experiment. If you know, in 1943, where the USS Eldridge was subjected to some experiments by the United States Navy for invisibility. This was in the days when radar, which was a form of sending out an electromagnetic signal, and if it bounced off of something like a ship or an aircraft, it would bounce back, and then the operator would look at what is now a TV screen and see a blip, and the blip meaning there was something out there. But the idea was to use electromagnetic field technology to render a ship invisible. Well, what happened was, according to the level of power that they created on this ship, the USS Eldridge, which my friend was stationed on, true story, not making it up, you can't make up this stuff, that he was transported through time and back again into the 1943 time frame, but he skipped through different decades of time, 63, 73, 83, 93, 2003, and so forth, and also in different places, not just only in the Philadelphia harbor and elsewhere. So he had compiled quite a bit of research, because he was still with us in this lifetime, let's just say in a different body, and I know what that must sound like. For some of you are just going, yeah, it's Dr. J, sure, totally understandable. But he had experienced firsthand time travel. And my understanding is that when someone experiences that, it's easy to go back into that that movement through time. Now, on the other side of the equation is individuals who awaken their chakras sufficiently in the astral causal dimension and even beyond what is called Purusha dimension. They collapse space and time, mostly through this chakra here. This is called the brow center, or Ajna, A-J-N-A, which is a Sanskrit word that means command. And that when a person sufficiently awakens that chakra, they can collapse time. So for instance, a person's now might be 10 years out and 10 years back, and their 20-year period would be in this time frame right now. I know that sounds really weird, but I've experienced it firsthand. My dear teacher had definitely lived in that reality, although, you know, he was very careful not to talk in more phenomenological terms like I do. I mean, I'm the one that kind of goes over the edge, but he always kept it on a scholastic, scholarly level, which I really appreciate, because he was quite the academic, the scholar, and the philosopher, because he did want to convince the world in an academic, scientific manner that the subtle energy body really does exist. And to my satisfaction, he absolutely has done that. So that's, you know, that's huge. So to understand time, anything that moves implies time. If this paper moves from here to here, in order to do so, it implies time. Even in sources like Scripture, the Christian Bible, for instance, the very first part of the Bible would say something like, I'm sorry, I don't remember. It was something like, in the beginning there was light. But a physicist will tell you that in order to have light, there must first be movement. Something has to move. But in the higher dimensions, hello, Anne-Marie, in the higher dimensions, there is no time. Even in Gregg Braden's book, Fractal Time, he cites a reference to a scientific study where individuals using sophisticated lasers to divide time into smaller and smaller seconds. At 10 to the minus 18 seconds, that's a point with 18 zeros and a 1. That's still an interval. Even though it's infinitesimally small, it's still an interval of time. Their calculations showed them that at that level, time doesn't exist. So what if you are a classically trained scientist? You know, no mind for metaphysics really, but really just hard physics. What do you do with that information if at that point your calculations show you time doesn't exist? And so the yogis, swamis, gurus, rishis, they will tell you that time is an illusion, that it doesn't really exist, that we're holograms. And so, you know, we hear this, and most of us in metaphysics, we hear it and it just passes right on by, because we really have difficulty understanding that. For instance, how can you live in a oneness and yet you're a part of all things? You know, how can that possibly be, that we're unique beings and yet we live in oneness and there's no separation? And so there's so many scientific experiments that have verified that human consciousness affects biological and electrical systems. So, you know, how do we take this out of the realm of science and apply it to you and I in time travel? Well, that you and I are time travelers, and this body, for instance, is traveling through time. You know, I have my little Fitbit on and I can tap it and look at the time and say, oh yeah, I got 12 minutes left for this program. And yet, the yogis will tell you time is an illusion. Even this friend of mine who was in the Philadelphia experiment and it did in fact time travel and has done it since then, he said, well, what if our lives are not in succession? You know, like the year 1820, then the year 1920, then the year 2020. The usual time between lifetimes is somewhere between 100 and 200 years, although some therapists feel it's about 66 years on average. But what if we're just marching abreast of our several lifetimes and we just slot over sideways into a different time frame? What if the future and the past are right now? And so that's why spiritual teachers will tell you the only lifetime to really focus on is this one, because in the land of karma, which is the attachment to a person, place, of an event that increases the illusion of separation, in the land of karma, the most power we have to dissolve karma is in this lifetime, when we're physically in a dimension that measures time and space, and yet you have 7 chakras that are not part of time and space, and yet they're unique. And so as you continue to awaken the chakra centers, you have the ability to look into the past and the future. And people say, well, Dr. J, have you read the future? Yes, I have, but not for entertainment. There's no point for doing that. I mean, the Rinpoches will tell you worrying about the future is like fishing in a dry gulch. There's nothing to catch. But there are times when I have told somebody something that would happen in the future because I took the responsibility to help them understand that this is real. And of course, what I said did transpire. That doesn't make me special. Not any more special than you. It's just that in this lifetime, this is part of what I'm to do. And as I said at the beginning of this program, I am a healer. This is what I do. I do teach integrative chakra therapy. I do energy medicine. I do energy psychology. And for the rest of this lifetime, I know that's what I'm supposed to do. And so, good, bad, or otherwise, you guys are stuck with me. So at any rate, time travel is real. It can be done through your prayers and through your meditations. It can be done as astral travel. It can be done through telepathy. It can be done through the specific psychic abilities of the other chakras. So again, forgive me, when I put on my glasses, I'm looking at your text. And this says, this says, if we are supposed to concentrate on this lifetime, why do our past life stuff sometimes affect this lifetime? Because we are, in some cases, recapitulating the essence of a past lifetime that is not resolved. So let's say something happened in a past lifetime where you came into mistrust of somebody. And so in this lifetime, maybe a person has mistrust issues and then they recreate a sequence of events, but they recreate the sequence of events for two reasons. One, because in this lifetime, that person is now strong enough to dissolve the karma. That's why they recapitulated and brought it back. And two, they never incarnate alone. We always incarnate with other people who can help us to dissolve that karma. So that's why it's always good for you and I to do what I call look for the open energy. You become synchronistic and you look for the synchrony of events in your life that says, this must be one of those moments when it's good for me to let go of this behavior pattern, or good for me to let go of this fear, and this person's going to help me see through it, and so on and so forth. So that's a really, really good question. But you can be guaranteed that in every given lifetime, you're definitely going to bring up events from past lifetimes if they are not resolved. And again, the karma relates to how we attached to something good or not so good. And that level of attachment, we infer, is what keeps us stuck in the illusion of separation from the oneness in which we exist. I just taught a class last quarter at the Institute called Past Lives Karma and the Survival of Consciousness, and we touched on these very things. One of the best books I ever saw on karma and reincarnation is by Dr. Hiroshi Motoyama, Motoyama, and it's called Past Lives Karma and Reincarnation. Or just karma and reincarnation. And you can get it through the Institute at cihs.edu, cihs.edu. So Angie says, when we dream, are we visiting past or future selves? Yes. Yes, it can be both. And it's very interesting because of who comes forth in our dreams. It has been said or postulated that everybody in our dream is me, no matter who you, not me personally, but you yourself, the dreamer. You are every role in that dream, but externalized as some element of your dream. Yeah, that is a great book, Ken. Ken is excited for me to come to Calgary on May 9th through the 15th because he's invited me, he and Sheila have invited me into their lovely home where I'm going to be channeling Kuan Yin. And this is quite the big deal because when I was going through my spiritualist ministry in the early 90s, I channeled all kinds of beings, always in love and respect, not for entertainment. And I've channeled Kuan Yin for some very important people in the 90s, but then I kind of got away from it and would only channel for my students and graduates in integrative chakra therapy, or ICT. So this is the first time I've channeled publicly in 19 years. 19 years, yeah, since 2000. So it's going to be quite the event. So we'll see. I didn't know if I should advertise it, Ken, or not, since I think you've got it full already. I haven't put the word out to anybody. So at any rate, can we time travel in our prayers and meditations? Yes. Can we do it in our dreams? Yes. Are we telepathically connected to all things at all times? Yes. But just like there may be a clock in your room or a painting right behind you, you may know that it's in the room, but you're not aware of it because you haven't turned around to take a look and see it, even though it is in your field of vision. So telepathy is a lot like that. This information is all out there and it's all available, but at the same time, it depends on where we focus our awareness. So if I was looking to tell someone a future event in their life, I would do so because I would focus my attention on that. But again, only in service work, only out of love and respect. If you're going to do this work, if respect is not in your foundation, love and respect, then you really shouldn't do it because you'd be doing it for all the wrong reasons. And we don't need any more of that today. We need healers who are very dedicated and very serious to the path and to the work. And I'm very honored that Ken and Sheila have been so gracious to let me in their house more than once. That says something right there, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm sorry, Lynn, you couldn't be there for the channeling, but I'm going to be doing more of it. But carefully and slowly and selectively, we'll see. But I'll be doing more flower readings. So just a couple of commercials. My website is lightnews.org, www.lightnews.org. There's lots of things on there. I am well known for my spiritual counseling and healing. I have clients just about every continent from Africa to Australia, as far as Israel and Europe and so forth. So I am available for people to Skype or Zoom with me or phone worldwide for sessions. I think I just had one from India recently too. And so that's very cool. And my dear friend Wael is now with us for a few minutes. Hello, Wael. I hope to one day be able to go to Egypt and maybe do some flower readings there and blow people away. That would be a lot of fun, wouldn't it? So at any rate, our subject today was time travel, number 2, and telepathy, number 1. These are both real. They're not fake. I know trained scientists have a lot of problems with that, but we are living in a world that assiduously studies these from a classical standpoint of physics, in that, in the 90s, our physicists in the US considered 97% of the DNA of the human being to be junk DNA of no importance. The Russians, however, looked at it the other way around. They said everything is important, so they've been studying DNA from a very, very strict standpoint. Did you know that DNA has been created in absolutely sterile vials of water with just using laser beams? How is that possible? And yet there it is. So we're living in this world of truth revealed, where we're starting to understand more and more of the truth of our metaphysical nature, but it's good for us to understand it from a practical standpoint so that we're not in the land of woo-woo or airy-fairy or thinking that this is solely for entertainment. I'm very serious and dedicated to what I do. I love what I do, but it's in service to you. And in order to do that, I have to be in that space of love and respect so that it helps you to empower yourself without any of the fluff involved, but rather to help you see things more as they are than as they appear to be, so that your life is empowered, purposeful, and very relative to what you came in this lifetime to accomplish. So that's where we take metaphysics and we put the loving embrace of practicality on it, so that we have both. We have spiritually awakened, but we're practical as well. So let's do a time check here. We've got about 2 minutes left, and I want to thank you so much for watching Light News Radio, Realms of Self-Empowerment. Did you know that this coming June, we will have been broadcasting for 5 years? 5 years. So lightnews.org is our website. Inquire about our Cosmic Circle, which is a membership program that gives you all kinds of benefits. I know Ken and Sheila are already in that program, and thank you very much. We also have a wonderful 6-module plus bonus module event coming online very soon called Awakening the Master Within. Awakening the Master Within, which you will just love. It's very reasonably priced. There's 6 online modules plus a bonus. There's workbooks, there's assignments. With me, you get homework. And so it'll be very educational, a great learning experience for you. And we have lots of workshops and events, and our website is huge with information and more to come. Even an online tarot class is coming where I'll be able to teach you the tarot in one setting. Can you imagine that? I've been teaching the tarot since 1994. That's a long time. And one of our last comments, Lynn says, I have been to many of your flower readings and you have impacted my life in such a positive way. You helped me through some tough times in my life. Thank you for crossing paths with you. Thank you, Lynn. What a great way to end the program. Isn't that wonderful? Well, I just want to thank you so much for watching. Lightnews.org is our website, info@lightnews.org, the email, and of course, I am so grateful for you, because without you, there is no program. Our shows are archived on the YouTube channel, Light News Radio. So thank you so much. And of course, as always, may the principles of harmlessness and compassion be the ever-present, ever-constant guide of your every intention, of your every thought, and of your every action. And so it is, and so it shall be. It is done. Stay attuned, everyone. Blessings.